Josh. I am from Cambridge and I hope it's not too windy. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself as someone who is trying to just send a message out to the world, trying to inspire people and trying to change lives, trying to value people's lives. And what I wanted to talk about today is just how to stay balanced during this time of humanity, this time of great change, not just in terms of physical reality, but also how we perceive ourselves and how we use our minds to get ourselves through these things. A lot of people have different ways to do it, and my favorite thing to do is making sure that my sexual energy is balanced. And there are many ways in which I can do this, and just a few things I wanted to point out just to help you guys, just to see if these things can help you. And these aren't really spoken about that much when it comes to semen retention. So one thing I've been studying recently is the work of Bioenergetics by Wilhelm Reich. And I didn't realise at first that this actually refers to essentially how sexuality and our experience from the layers from when we was a baby all the way until we're an adult. I believe there are 4 layers, and this chart shows how sexuality builds up in different ways, how we view it from when we're a baby to when we're an adult. And most people aren't really in touch with their baby side as much as they should be, and neither am I really. This is why I'm studying it. And yeah, there's a book that I wanted to recommend for anyone who is going to come across this video, and that is Bioenergetics, and I'll put it in the description. And basically there's a few exercises which can really balance out the frustration and irritableness when you're experiencing a flat line or any sort of withdrawal stage, which is going to happen to any man who tries this. So after an extended period of time, wow, it's windy today, and yeah, I hope so. There's one exercise in particular, and that is the bow and arc exercise, which commonly refers to a simple Tai Chi exercise. How so many people have lower back aches, lower back problems. They can't hold their upper torso up with their lower back because, say, when they've been sitting down in a job all day, or they're sitting down on an office desk, just sitting down without their back straight, it's like your upper back gets used to holding stability, so your lower back never has the opportunity to become independent on how it functions in terms of holding the rest of the weight up. And the reason why this is referring to semen retention is because I like to see this as bioenergetics is like psychedelics. So things like mushrooms, DMT, ayahuasca, LSD, even marijuana. And depending on what level of frequency you're at, what level of awareness, how much activity is going on in your brain, if you have severe depression, if you have brain fog, if you have just a lack of energy, then these psychedelics are not going to really benefit you that much. They will, but they won't. You'd have to take a lot to really experience an ego dissolution in some way. And when you practice something like semen retention, the saying goes with bioenergetics, it's like the psychedelics will hit you much harder, and you're more likely to experience a more profound ego disillusion and gather much more internal insights about the divine intelligence of this universe at a much lower dose. So when you do this basic exercise on your back, it slowly releases a lot of depression, a lot of trauma, a lot of anxiety, but over time the chi, which is the energy, which is your sexual energy, this is how Tai Chi masters refer it to, they essentially, it builds up, and then this back release, it releases all that tension and it opens up the channel, and then you can do the microcosmic orbit breathing, which is basically you hold your tongue at the roof of your mouth and you just breathe up while you clench the muscle between your anus and your testicles, I believe. You clench it up and then you breathe up, and then hold it for 2 seconds, or just hold it for half a second and then breathe out, and then do this for like at least 5 minutes straight after you do this back exercise. Another thing you can do is the testicle breathing, where you simply breathe into your belly and then into your testicles and imagine them expanding and then retracting, just to get that energy flowing through and expanding and opening up, instead of having this stagnant blue balls energy, which is what a lot of people tend to face. And yeah, this is definitely something that can help you maintain a level of balance and calmness when you're going through such a stage of irritability. And another thing is, it's important to work on the chakras, as these chakras, the Kundalini energy, is what is really important to know, as they're sort of like keys to each level. The root, if your root is imbalanced, which means your safety, your level of fear, if you're very fearful, if you're most of the time living at fear, if you're scared of doing things you want to do, then you're living at your root chakra. And the longer you hold this chi, then it's almost like a spiritual currency. So you gain this chi, and then you can circulate it throughout your body with these exercises, and over time, once you balance the root, then you can move on up to the sacral, which is your sexuality, which is why it's really important to breathe into the abdomen when you're meditating, because this is where most of the sexual trauma is, stuck. And this exercise, especially the bow one, can help release this shakiness, because you start to shake once you do this, and you will at first sense a lot of heavy energy, and you'll probably feel a lot more just heavy and lethargic at first, but this is literally just the energy that's being released. It's you becoming aware that there actually is trauma there that you didn't know it even existed. So another thing is that, and so from the sacral you go to the solar plexus, which is basically what you eat. It's your gut instincts. So if you're eating bad food, acidic, you're not eating a lot of alkaline, because you've got to realize that the colors from acidic to alkaline, you've got acidic being red, and the pH scale right at the other end is purple, which is the crown chakra. So if you're eating a lot of acidic foods, then you're most likely going to have pH level of red. So you're going to be living at your root, essentially, or at least lower than your solar plexus. So the more alkaline food you eat, the more likely you are to heal this energy center. And by the way, when you heal these specific energy centers, then it actually makes it easier for you to circulate this chi, sexual energy, up your spine, right to the crown, and then back down to the stomach. And so once you unlock these 3 gates, then once you unlock these 3 keys, then you essentially reach the center point. You're the gate key of your life, which is your heart chakra. And it's a very powerful feeling when you begin to open this. However, if you don't maintain the level of balance in these 3 things, then it's going to be very difficult to reach your heart chakra or above that. So this is why it's very important that you need to constantly work on releasing emotional blockages and eating good food and making sure that you're not living in fear. These things obviously take time to develop. So once you reach this heart chakra, this is where you begin to feel this love frequency, this sort of MDMA, just unconditional love, appreciation for the world. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And in order to open this up, you've got it's very closely related to your emotional blockages. So the more emotional blockage you have in your solar plexus, or your sacral, then you're more likely to have an imbalanced heart and a blocked heart, because your heart is really where a lot of emotion and feeling takes place, is where you begin to really feel your life for what it is. And then moving on up to the throat chakra, making sure that this is all about how you communicate with people, what words you speak into your reality, because your words manifest your reality, and even your thoughts. So it's always, and also even when you're having conversations with people, these words that they say to you, even if you're not listening, they can still, it's like a projection into this reality that you're in, this environment, and it's going to stay there in your mind, and it can manifest into other things. So it's very important that specific word you say, if you're speaking against someone, if you're speaking fear or anxiety or violence into reality, even if you don't do it physically, it's still a meaningful thing, especially when you lie. And there's an important aspect behind the Indian sages who practice the semen retention, pure celibacy especially, is that over time, once they reach this throat chakra, once they gain enough spiritual currency, then they literally have no choice but to tell the truth all the time, because it forces them to. So you're carrying so much energy at that point that it's like you're serving the higher realms, and because they're infinite, you can't beat them. Whereas you can think you're beating them if you're below the heart, because you're serving the lower chakras. You're living in fear. And once you pass that point, then you're at the third eye. And the third eye is interesting because it's where you really start to see reality for what it really is. You see truth. The throat chakra is speaking truth. The third eye is really seeing. I can see it. It refers to having the nerve of DMT. You're constantly living in a DMT sort of resonated world where everything makes sense to you. And obviously the higher you go to the crown chakra, being connected to your soul, obviously, especially in the world we're at the moment, becomes more difficult to maintain the balance of these other chakras. It's obviously important that you shouldn't just escape the third dimension. You shouldn't just escape the physical realm and just try and, you know, because we're in here, we're in this world for a reason. We're in these physical bodies for a reason. So yeah, these chakras are very important to learn when it comes to semen retention. And it's almost like a guitar system where these are your tones. As long as you've got all these tones adjusted to the right frequency of balance, then you become a musical instrument. So yeah, these are just a few points that I wanted to send out to the world, and I hope you guys actually heard this video, because it's obviously very windy right now. And yeah, I hope you all take care of yourselves. Peace and love. I love you all. Bye.